Chapter 31. And he heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and he has gotten all this glory of that which was our father's. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as beforetime. And Lord said to Jacob, Return to the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field to his flock, and said to them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not toward me as beforetime, but the God of my father has been with me. And ye know that with all my power I have served your father, and your father has deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times, but God did not allow him to hurt me. If he said thus, The speckled shall be thy wages, then all the flock bore speckled. And if he said thus, The ring-streaked shall be thy wages, then all the flock bore ring-streaked. Thus God has taken away the cattle of your father, and given them to me. And it came to pass at the time that the flock conceived, that I lifted up my eyes, and saw in a dream, and behold, the he-goats which leaped upon the flock were ring-streaked, speckled, and grizzled. And the agent of God said to me in the dream, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift up now thine eyes, and see, all the he-goats which leap upon the flock are ring-streaked, speckled, and grizzled, for I have seen all that Laban does to thee. I am the God of Bethel, where thou anointed a pillar, where thou vowed a vow to me. Now arise, get thee out from this land, and return to the land of thy nativity. And Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, Is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not accounted by him as foreigners? For he has sold us, and has also quite devoured our money. For all the riches which God has taken away from our father, that is ours and our children's. Now then, whatever God has said to thee, do. Then Jacob rose up and set his sons and his wives upon the camels, and he carried away all his cattle, and all his substance which he had gathered, the cattle of his getting, which he had gathered in Paddan Aram, to go to Isaac his father to the land of Canaan. Now Laban was gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel stole the teraphim that were her father's. And Jacob slipped away unawares to Laban the Syrian, in that he did not tell him that he fled. So he fled with all that he had. And he rose up and passed over the river, and set his face toward the mountain of Gilead. And it was told Laban on the 3rd day that Jacob had fled. And he took his brothers with him, and pursued after him 7 days' journey, and he overtook him in the mountain of Gilead. And God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream of the night, and said to him, Take heed to thyself that thou not speak to Jacob either good or bad. And Laban came up with Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mountain. And Laban encamped with his brothers in the mountain of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, What have thou done, that thou have slipped away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captives of the sword? Why did thou flee secretly, and creep away from me, and did not tell me that I might have sent thee away with mirth and with songs, with tambourine and with harp, and did not allow me to kiss my sons and my daughters? Now thou have done foolishly. It is in the power of my hand to do you harm. But the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, Take heed to thyself that thou not speak to Jacob either good or bad. And now, though thou have certainly gone, because thou have been very desirous for thy father's house, yet why have thou stolen my gods? And Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Lest thou should take thy daughters from me by force. With whomever thou find thy gods, he shall not live. Before our brothers discern thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the tent of the 2 maidservants, but he did not find them. And he went out of Leah's tent, and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the teraphim, and put them in the camel's saddle, and sat upon them. And Laban felt around all the tent, but did not find them. And she said to her father, Let not my lord be angry that I cannot rise up before thee, for the manner of women is upon me. And he searched, but did not find the teraphim. And Jacob was angry, and chided with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, What is my trespass? What is my sin that thou have hotly pursued after me? Whereas thou have felt around all my stuff, what have thou found of all thy household stuff? Set it here before my brothers and thy brothers, that they may judge between us two. These 20 years I have been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she-goats have not cast their young, and I have not eaten the rams of thy flocks. I did not bring to thee that which was torn by beasts. I bore the loss of it, of my hand thou required it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was. In the day the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy flock, and thou have changed my wages 10 times. Unless the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely now thou would have sent me away empty. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee last night. And Laban answered and said to Jacob, The daughters are my daughters, and the sons are my sons, and the flocks are my flocks, and all that thou see is mine. And what can I do this day to these my daughters, or to their sons whom they are now come? Let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone, and set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said to his brothers, Gather stones. And they took stones, and made a heap. And they ate there by the heap. And Laban called it Jegar-sahadutha, but Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, This heap is witness between me and thee this day. Therefore the name of it was called Gilead, and Mizpah. For he said, May Lord watch between me and thee, when we are absent one from another, if thou wilt afflict my daughters. And if thou wilt take wives besides my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness between me and thee. And Laban said to Jacob, Behold this heap, and behold the pillar, which I have set between me and thee. This heap is witness, and the pillar is witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar to me for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. And Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. And Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain, and called his brothers to eat bread. And they ate bread, and tarried all night on the mountain. And early in the morning Laban rose up and kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed and returned to his place. Chapter 32. And Jacob went on his way, and the agents of God met him. And Jacob said when he saw them, This is God's camp. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, to the land of Seir, the field of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, Thus shall ye say to my lord Esau, Thus says thy servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban, and stayed until now. And I have oxen, and donkeys, flocks, and men servants, and maidservants. And I have sent to tell my lord, that I may find favor in thy sight. And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, We came to thy brother Esau, and moreover he comes to meet thee, and 400 men with him. Then Jacob was greatly afraid, and was distressed. And he divided the people that were with him, and the flocks, and the herds, and the camels, into 2 companies. And he said, If Esau comes to the one company and smites it, then the company which is left shall escape. And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, who said to me, Return to thy country, and to thy kindred, and I will do thee good. I am not worthy of the least of all the loving kindnesses and of all the truth which thou hast shown to thy servant, for with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I have become 2 companies. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau. For I fear him lest he comes and smites me, the mother with the sons. And thou said, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. And he lodged there that night, and took of that which he had with him a present for Esau his brother, 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milk camels and their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 she-donkeys and 10 foals. And he delivered them into the hand of his servants, every herd by itself, and said to his servants, Pass over before me, and put a space between herd and herd. And he commanded the foremost, saying, When Esau, my brother, meets thee, and asks thee, saying, Whose art thou? And where do thou go? And whose are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, Thy servant Jacob's. It is a present sent to my lord Esau. And behold, he also is behind us. And he commanded also the second and the third, and all who followed the herd, saying, On this manner shall ye speak to Esau when ye find him, and ye shall say, Moreover, behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me, and afterward I will see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. So the present passed over before him, and he himself lodged that night in the company. And he rose up that night, and took his 2 wives and his 2 handmaids and his 11 children, and passed over the ford of the Jabbok. And he took them, and sent them over the stream, and sent over that which he had. And Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was strained as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaks. And he said, I will not let thee go, unless thou bless me. And he said to him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall no more be called Jacob, but Israel. For thou hast striven with God and with men, and have prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, Tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, Why is it that thou ask for my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And the sun rose upon him as he passed over Peniel, and he limped upon his thigh. Therefore the sons of Israel do not eat the sinew of the hip, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, to this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew of the hip. Chapter 33. And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau was coming, and 400 men with him. And he divided the children to Leah, and to Rachel, and to the 2 handmaids. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindmost. And he himself passed over before them, and bowed himself to the ground 7 times, until he came near to his brother. And Esau ran to meet him, and embraced him, and fell on his neck, and kissed him, and they wept. And he lifted up his eyes, and saw the women and the children, and said, Who are these with thee? And he said, The children whom God has graciously given thy servant. Then the handmaids came near, they and their children, and they bowed themselves. And Leah also and her children came near, and bowed themselves. And afterward Joseph came near, and Rachel, and they bowed themselves. And he said, What do thou mean by all this company which I met? And he said, To find favor in the sight of my Lord. And Esau said, I have enough, my brother. Let that which thou have be thine. And Jacob said, No, I pray thee. If now I have found favor in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand, inasmuch as I have seen thy face, as any man would see the face of God, and thou were pleased with me. Take, I pray thee, my gift that is brought to thee, because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. And he urged him, and he took it. And he said, Let us take our journey, and let us go, and I will go before thee. And he said to him, My Lord knows that the children are tender, and that the flocks and herds with me have their young. And if they overdrive them one day, all the flocks will die. Let my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before his servant, and I will lead on gently, according to the pace of the cattle that are before me, and according to the pace of the children, until I come to my Lord to Seir. And Esau said, Let me now leave with thee some of the folks that are with me. And he said, What need is it? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord. So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. And Jacob journeyed to Succoth, and built for him a house, and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name of the place is called Succoth. And Jacob came in peace to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Paddan Aram, and encamped before the city. And he bought the parcel of ground where he had spread his tent at the hand of the sons of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 lambs. And he erected an altar there and called it El Elohe Israel. Chapter 34. And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, the prince of the land, saw her. And he took her, and lay with her, and humbled her. And his soul clung to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel, and spoke kindly to the damsel. And Shechem spoke to his father Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife. Now Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah his daughter, and his sons were with his cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they came. And Hamor the father of Shechem went out to Jacob to converse with him. And the sons of Jacob came in from the field when they heard it. And the men were grieved, and they were very angry, because he had wrought folly in Israel in laying with Jacob's daughter, which thing ought not to be done. And Hamor conversed with them, saying, The soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. I pray you, give her to him to wife, and make ye marriages with us. Give your daughters to us, and take our daughters to you, and ye shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade ye in it, and get possessions for you in it. And Shechem said to her father and to her brothers, Let me find favor in your eyes, and what ye shall say to me I will give. Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye shall say to me, but give me the damsel to wife. And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father with guile, and spoke because he had defiled Dinah their sister, and said to them, We cannot do this thing to give our sister to a man who is uncircumcised, for that is a reproach to us. Only on this condition will we consent to you, if ye will be as we are, that every male of you be circumcised. Then we will give our daughters to you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if ye will not hearken to us, to be circumcised, then will we take our daughter, and we will be gone. And their words pleased Hamor, and Shechem Hamor's son. And the young man did not delay to do the thing, because he had delight in Jacob's daughter. And he was honored above all the house of his father. And Hamor and Shechem his son came to the gate of their city, and conversed with the men of their city, saying, These men are peaceable with us, therefore let them dwell in the land and trade in it. For behold, the land is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us for wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only on this condition will the men consent to us to dwell with us, to become one people, if every male among us be circumcised, as they are circumcised. Shall not their cattle and their substance and all their beasts be ours? Only let us consent to them, and they will dwell with us. And all who went out of the gate of his city hearkened to Hamor and to Shechem his son, and every male was circumcised, all who went out of the gate of his city. And it came to pass on the 3rd day, when they were sore, that 2 of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took each man his sword, and came upon the city unawares, and killed all the males. And they killed Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house, and went forth. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain, and plundered the city, because they had defiled their sister. They took their flocks, and their herds, and their donkeys, and that which was in the city, and that which was in the field, and all their wealth, and all their little ones and their wives, they took captive and made a prey, even all that was in the house. And Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, Ye have troubled me, to make me odious to the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And I being few in number, they will gather themselves together against me and smite. And they said, Should he deal with our sister as with a harlot? Chapter 35. And God said to Jacob, Arise, go up to Bethel, and dwell there, and make an altar there to God, who appeared to thee when thou fled from the face of Esau thy brother. Then Jacob said to his household, and to all who were with him, "Put away the foreign gods that are among you, and purify yourselves, and change your garments. And let us arise, and go up to Bethel, and I will make there an altar to God, who answered me in the day of my distress, and was with me on the way which I went." And they gave to Jacob all the foreign gods which were in their hand, and the rings which were in their ears. And Jacob hid them under the oak that was by Shechem. And they journeyed, and a terror of God was upon the cities that were round about them, and they did not pursue after the sons of Jacob. So Jacob came to Luz, which is in the land of Canaan, the same as Bethel, he and all the people that were with him. And he built there an altar, and called the place El Bethel, because God was revealed to him there, when he fled from the face of his brother. And Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried below Bethel under the oak. And the name of it was called Alon-Bakuth. And God appeared to Jacob again when he came from Paddan Aram, and blessed him. And God said to him, "Thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name." And he called his name Israel. And God said to him, "I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. And the land which I gave to Abraham and Isaac, I will give it to thee, and I will give the land to thy seed after thee." And God went up from him in the place where he spoke with him. And Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he spoke with him, a pillar of stone. And he poured out a drink offering on it, and poured oil on it. And Jacob called the name of the place where God spoke with him, Bethel. And they journeyed from Bethel. And there was still some distance to come to Ephrath. And Rachel travailed, and she had hard labor. And it came to pass, when she was in hard labor, that the midwife said to her, "Fear not, for now thou shalt have another son." And it came to pass, as her soul was departing, for she died, that she called his name Benoni, but his father called him Benjamin. And Rachel died, and was buried on the way to Ephrath, the same as Bethlehem. And Jacob set up a pillar upon her grave, the same as the pillar of Rachel's grave to this day. And Israel journeyed, and spread his tent beyond the tower of Ader. And it came to pass, while Israel dwelt in that land, that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah his father's concubine, and Israel heard of it. Now the sons of Jacob were 12, the sons of Leah: Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and Simeon, and Levi, and Judah, and Issachar, and Zebulun; the sons of Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin; and the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's handmaid, Dan and Naphtali; and the sons of Zilpah, Leah's handmaid, Gad and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob, who were born to him in Paddan Aram. And Jacob came to Isaac his father to Mamre, to Kiriath Arba, the same as Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac sojourned. And the days of Isaac were 180 years. And Isaac gave up the spirit, and died, and was gathered to his people, old and full of days. And Esau and Jacob his sons buried him. Chapter 36. Now these are the generations of Esau, the same is Edom. Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, Adah the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Oholibamah the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite, and Basemath Ishmael's daughter, sister of Nebaioth. And Adah bore to Esau Eliphaz, and Basemath bore Reuel, and Oholibamah bore Jush, and Jalam, and Korah. These are the sons of Esau, who were born to him in the land of Canaan. And Esau took his wives, and his sons, and his daughters, and all the souls of his house, and his cattle, and all his beasts, and all his possessions, which he had gathered in the land of Canaan, and went into a land away from his, for their substance was too great for them to dwell together, and the land of their sojourning could not bear them because of their cattle. And Esau dwelt in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. And these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites, in Mount Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Adah, the wife of Esau; Reuel, the son of Basemath, the wife of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, and Gatam, and Kenaz. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz Esau's son, and she bore to Eliphaz Amalek. These are the sons of Adah, Esau's wife. And these are the sons of Reuel: Nahath, and Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were the sons of Basemath, Esau's wife. And these were the sons of Oholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife. And she bore to Esau Jush and Jalam and Korah. These are the chiefs of the sons of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn of Esau, chief Teman, chief Omar, chief Zepho, chief Kenaz, chief Korah, chief Gotham, chief Amalek. These are the chiefs that came by Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These are the sons of Adah, and these are the sons of Roel, Esau's son, chief Nahath, chief Zerah, chief Shammah, chief Mizah. These are the chiefs that came by Roel in the land of Edom. These are the sons of Basemath, Esau's wife. And these are the sons of Oholibamah, Esau's wife, chief Jush, chief Jalam, chief Korah. These are the chiefs that came by Oholibamah, the daughter of Anah, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Esau, and these are their chiefs, the same as Edom. These are the sons of Seir the Horite, the inhabitants of the land, Lotan and Shobal and Zibeon and Anah, and Dishon and Ezer and Dishan. These are the chiefs that came of the Horites, the sons of Seir in the land of Edom. And the sons of Lotan were Hori and Heman, and Lotan's sister was Timnah. And these are the sons of Shobal, Alvan and Manahath and Ebal, Shepo and Onam. And these are the sons of Zibeon, Ayah, and Anah. This is Anah, who found the hot springs in the wilderness as he fed the donkeys of Zibeon his father. And these are the children of Anah, Dishon, and Oholibamah, the daughter of Anah. And these are the sons of Dishon, Hemdan and Eshban and Ithran and Cheran. These are the sons of Ezer, Bilhan and Zavan and Akan. These are the sons of Dishan, Uz and Aran. These are the chiefs that came from the Horites, chief Lotan, chief Shobal, chief Zibeon, chief Anah, chief Dishon, chief Ezer, chief Dishan. These are the chiefs that came from the Horites, according to their chiefs in the land of Seir. And these are the kings that reigned in the land of Edom, before any king reigned over the sons of Israel. And Bela the son of Beor reigned in Edom, and the name of his city was Dinhabah. And Bela died, and Jobab the son of Zerah of Bozrah reigned in his stead. And Jobab died, and Husham of the land of the Temanites reigned in his stead. And Husham died, and Hadad the son of Bedad, who smote Midian in the field of Moab, reigned in his stead. And the name of his city was Avith. And Hadad died, and Samlah of Masrekah reigned in his stead. And Samlah died, and Shaul of Rehoboth by the river reigned in his stead. And Shaul died, and Baalhanan the son of Achbor reigned in his stead. And Baalhanan the son of Achbor died, and Hadar reigned in his stead. And the name of his city was Pau, and his wife's name was Mehetabel, the daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mezahab. And these are the names of the chiefs that came of Esau, according to their families, after their places, by their names: chief Timnah, chief Alva, chief Jethath, chief Aholibamah, chief Elah, chief Pinon, chief Kenaz, chief Taman, chief Mibzar, chief Magdiel, chief Iram. These are the chiefs of Edom, according to their habitations in the land of their possession. This is Esau, the father of the Edomites. Chapter 37. And Jacob dwelt in the land of his fathers sojourning in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brothers. And he was a lad with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought the evil now. Israel loved Joseph more than all his sons, because he was the son of his old age. And he made for him a coat of many colors. And his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, and they hated him, and could not speak peaceably to him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they hated him yet the more. And he said to them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves came round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brothers said to him, Shall thou indeed reign over us? Or shall thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it to his brothers, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream again. And behold, the sun and the moon and 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brothers. And his father rebuked him, and said to him, What is this dream that thou have dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brothers indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the ear? And his brothers envied him, but his father kept the saying in mind. And his brothers went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, Are not thy brothers feeding the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee to them. And he said to him, Here I am. And he said to him, Go now, see whether it is well with thy brothers, and well with the flock, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the valley of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What do thou seek? And he said, I am seeking my brothers. Tell me, I pray thee, where they are feeding. And the man said, They are departed from here, for I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brothers, and found them in Dothan. And they saw him afar off. And before he came near to them, they conspired against him to kill him. And they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer comes. Come now, therefore, and let us kill him and cast him into one of the pits. And we will say, An evil beast has devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben heard it, and delivered him out of their hand, and said, Let us not take his life. And Reuben said to them, Shed no blood. Cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, but lay no hand upon him, that he might deliver him out of their hand, to restore him to his father. And it came to pass, when Joseph came to his brothers, that they stripped Joseph of his coat, the coat of many colors that was on him, and they took him, and cast him into the pit. And the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread. And they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a caravan of Ishmaelites was coming from Gilead, with their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said to his brothers, What profit is it if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother, our flesh. And his brothers hearkened to him, and there passed by Midianites, merchantmen. And they drew and lifted Joseph up out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph into Egypt. And Reuben returned to the pit. And, behold, Joseph was not in the pit. And he rent his clothes, and he returned to his brothers, and said, The child is not, and I, where shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat, and killed a he-goat, and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father, and said, We have found this. Know now whether it is thy son's coat or not. And he knew it, and said, It is my son's coat. An evil beast has devoured him. Joseph is without doubt torn in pieces. And Jacob rent his garments, and put sackcloth upon his loins, and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted, and he said, For I will go down to Sheol to my son mourning. And his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's, the captain of the guard. Chapter 38. And it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brothers and turned into a certain Adullamite, whose name was Hira. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. And he took her and went into her. And she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name And she conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. And she yet again bore a son, and called his name Shelah. And he was at Chezib when she bore him. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of Lord, and Lord killed him. And Judah said to Onan, Go into thy brother's wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her, and raise up seed to thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed would not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in to his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest he should give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did was evil in the sight of Lord, and he killed him also. Then Judah said to Tamar his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow in thy father's house, till Shelah my son be grown up, for he said, Lest he also die like his brothers. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house, and in process of time Shua's daughter, the wife of Judah, died. And Judah was comforted, and went up to his sheep shearers to Timnah, he and his friend Hira the Adullamite. And it was told Tamar, saying, Behold, thy father-in-law goes up to Timnah to shear his sheep. And she put the garments of her widowhood off from her, and covered herself with her veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in the gate of Enaim, which is by the way to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was grown up, and she was not give. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, for she had covered her face. And he turned to her by the way, and said, Come, I pray thee, let me come into thee. For he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What wilt thou give me, that thou may come in to me? And he said, I will send thee a kid of the goats from the flock. And she said, Wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? And he said, What pledge shall I give thee? And she said, Thy signet and thy cord, and thy staff that is in thy hand. And he gave them to her, and came in to her, and she conceived by him. And she arose and went away, and put off her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Judah sent the kid of the goats by the hand of his friend the Adullamite, to receive the pledge from the woman's hand, but he did not find her. Then he asked the men of her place, saying, Where is the prostitute who was at Enaim by the wayside? And they said, There has been no prostitute here. And he returned to Judah, and said, I have not found her. And also the men of the place said, There has been no prostitute here. And Judah said, Let her take it to her, lest we be put to shame. Behold, I sent this kid, and thou have not found her. And it came to pass about 3 months after, that it was told Judah, saying, Tamar thy daughter-in-law has played the harlot, and moreover, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Judah said, Bring her forth, and let her be bur. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, By the man whose these are, I am with child. And she said, Discern, I pray thee, whose these are, the signet, and the cords, and the staff. And Judah acknowledged them, and said, She is more righteous than I, inasmuch as I did not give her to Shelah my son. And he knew her again no more. And it came to pass in the time of her travail, that, behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass, when she travailed, that one put out a hand. And the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, This came out first. And it came to pass, as he drew back his hand, that, behold, his brother came out. And she said, Why have thou made a breach for thyself? Therefore his name was called Perez. And afterward his brother came out, who had the scarlet thread upon his hand. And his name was called Zerah. Chapter 39. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's, the captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him from the hand of the Ishmaelites, who had brought him down there. And Lord was with Joseph, and he was a man who succeeds. And he was in the house of his master the Egyptian. And his master saw that Lord was with him, and that Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found favor in his sight, and he ministered to him. And he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hand. And it came to pass from the time that he made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of Lord was upon all that he had, in the house and in them. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew nothing that was with him, save the bread which he ate. And Joseph was comely and well-favored. And it came to pass after these things, that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, Lay with me. But he refused, and said to his master's wife, Behold, my master does not know what is with me in the house, and he has put all that he has into my hand. He is not greater in this house than I, nor has he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? And it came to pass, as she spoke to Joseph day by day, that he did not hearken to her, to lay by her, or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that he went into the house to do his work, and there was none of the men of the house there inside. And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lay with me. And he left his garment in her hand, and fled, and got out. And it came to pass, when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand, and was fled forth, that she called to the men of her house, and spoke to them, saying, See, he has brought in a Hebrew to us to mock us. He came in to me to lay with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass, when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment by me, and fled, and got out. And she laid up his garment by her until his master came home. And she spoke to him according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant, whom thou have brought to us, came in to me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment by me, and fled out. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spoke to him, saying, After this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him, and put him into the prison, the place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in the prison. But Lord was with Joseph, and showed kindness to him, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners who were in the prison. And whatever they did there, he was the doer of it. The keeper of the prison did not look to anything that was under his hand, because Lord was with him, and that which he did, Lord made it prosper. Chapter 40. And it came to pass after these things, that the butler of the king of Egypt and his baker offended their lord the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was angry against his two officers, against the chief of the butlers, and against the chief of the bakers. And he put them in ward in the house of the captain of the guard, into the prison, the place where Joseph was bound. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he ministered to them. And they continued a season in ward. And they dreamed a dream, both of them, each man his dream, in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream, the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were bound in the prison. And Joseph came into them in the morning, and saw them, and behold, they were sad. And he asked Pharaoh's officers who were with him in ward in his master's house, saying, Why do ye look so sad today? And they said to him, We have dreamed a dream, and there is no man who can interpret it. And Joseph said to them, Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell it to me, I pray you. And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph, and said to him, In my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine were 3 branches, and it was as though it budded, and its blossoms shot forth, and the clusters of it brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said to him, This is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within yet 3 days Pharaoh shall lift up thy head, and restore thee to thine office, and thou shalt give Pharaoh's cup into his hand, after the former manner when thou was his butler. But have me in thy remembrance when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, to me, and make mention of me to Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also I have done nothing, that they should put me into the dungeon. When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said to Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, 3 baskets of white bread were on my head. And in the uppermost basket there was of all manner of baked food for Pharaoh, and the birds ate them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, This is the interpretation of it. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within yet 3 days Pharaoh shall lift up thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off thee. And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast to all his servants. And he lifted up the head of the chief butler and the head of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler to his butlership again, and he gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand, but he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet the chief butler did not remember Joseph, but forgot him. Chapter 41. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 cows, well-favored and fat-fleshed, and they fed in the reed grass. And behold, 7 other cows came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other cows upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed cows ate up the 7 well-favored and fat cows. So Pharaoh awoke, and he slept and dreamed a second time. And behold, 7 ears of grain came up upon one stalk, fat and good. And behold, 7 ears, thin and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. And the thin ears swallowed up the 7 fat and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt, and all the wise men of it. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was no man who could interpret them to. Then the chief butler spoke to Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Pharaoh was angry with his servants, and put me in ward in the house of the captain of the guard, me and the chief baker. And we dreamed a dream in one night, I and he. We dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was a young man with us there, a Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard, and we told him. And he interpreted to us our dreams. He interpreted to each man according to his dream. And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was. He restored me to my office, and he hanged him. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and he shaved himself, and changed his raiment, and came into Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is no man who can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee, that when thou hear a dream thou can interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. God will give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And Pharaoh spoke to Joseph in my dream, Behold, I stood upon the brink of the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 cows, fat-fleshed and well-favored, and they fed in the reed grass. And behold, 7 other cows came up after them, poor and very ill-favored and lean-fleshed, such as I never saw in all the land of Egypt for badness. And the lean and ill-favored cows ate up the first 7 fat cows. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill-favored, as at the beginning. So I awoke, and I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up upon one stalk, full and good. And behold, 7 ears, withered, thin, and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them, and the thin ears swallowed up the 7 good ears. And I told it to the magicians, but there was no man who could declare it to me. And Joseph said to Pharaoh, The dream of Pharaoh is one. What God is about to do, he has declared to Pharaoh. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 lean and ill-favored cows that came up after them are 7 years, and also the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind. They shall be 7 years of famine. That is the thing which I spoke to Pharaoh. What God is about to do, he has shown to Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt, and there shall arise after them 7 years of famine. And all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land because of that famine which follows, for it shall be very grievous. And because the dream was doubled to Pharaoh, it is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out for a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint overseers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plentiful years. And let them gather all the food of these good years that come, and lay up grain under the hand of Pharaoh for food in the cities, and let them keep it. And the food shall be for a store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land not perish through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said to his servants, Can we find such a one as this, a man in whom is the Spirit of God? And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Inasmuch as God has shown thee all of this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou. Thou shalt be over my house, And according to thy word all my people shall be ruled. Only in the throne I will be greater than thou. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took his signet ring from off his hand, and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had, and they cried before him, Bow the knee. And he set him over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee no man shall lift up his hand or his foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphenath-Paneah, and he gave him Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera priest of On, for a wife. And Joseph went out over the land of Egypt. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh, and went throughout all the land of Egypt. And in the 7 plenteous years the earth brought forth by handfuls. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities. The food of the field, which was round about every city, he laid up in the same. And Joseph laid up grain as the sand of the sea very much, until he left off numbering, for it was without number. And 2 sons were born to Joseph before the year of famine came, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera priest of On, bore to him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God has made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. And the name of the second he called Ephraim, for God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. And the 7 years of plenty, that was in the land of Egypt, came to an end. And the 7 years of famine began to come, according as Joseph had said. And there was famine in all lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians, Go to Joseph, what he says to you do. And the famine was over all the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses, and sold to the Egyptians. And the famine was severe in the land of Egypt. And all countries came into Egypt to Joseph to buy grain, because the famine was severe on all the earth. Chapter 42. Now Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt. And Jacob said to his sons, Why do ye look one upon another? And he said, Behold, I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Get you down there, and buy for us from there, that we may live, and not die. And Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain from Egypt. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob did not send with his brothers, for he said, Lest perhaps harm befall him. And the sons of Israel came to buy among those who came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan, and Joseph was the governor over the land. It was he who sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brothers came and bowed down themselves to him with their faces to the earth. And Joseph saw his brothers, and he knew them, but made himself foreign to them, and spoke roughly with them. And he said to them, From where come ye? And they said, From the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brothers, but they did not know him. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them, and said to them, Ye are spies. Ye have come to see the nakedness of the land. And they said to him, No, my lord, but thy servants have come to buy food. We are all one man's sons. We are true men. Thy servants are no spies. And he said to them, No, but ye have come to see the nakedness of the land. And they said, We thy servants are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is not. And Joseph said to them, This is that which I spoke to you, saying, Ye are spies. By this ye shall be proved. By the life of Pharaoh ye shall not go forth from here, unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you, and let him fetch your brother. And ye shall be bound, that your words may be proved. Whether there be truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh, surely ye are spies. And he put them all together into ward 3 days. And Joseph said to them the 3rd day, This do, and live, for I fear God. If ye be true men, let one of your brothers be bound in your prison house, but go ye, carry grain for the famine of your houses, and bring your youngest brother to me. So shall your words be verified, and ye shall not die. And they did so. And they said one to another, "We are truly guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the distress of his soul when he besought us, and we would not hear. Therefore this distress has come upon us." And Reuben answered them, saying, "Did I not speak to you, saying, Sin not against the child, and ye would not hear? Therefore also, behold, his blood is required." And they did not know that Joseph understood them, for there was an interpreter between them. And he turned himself around from them and wept. And he returned to them and spoke to them, and took Simeon from among them, and bound him before their eyes. Then Joseph commanded to fill their vessels with grain, and to restore every man's money into his sack, and to give them provisions for the way. And thus it was done to them. And they loaded their donkeys with their grain, and departed from there. And as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey provender in the lodging place, he saw his money, and behold, it was in the mouth of his sack. And he said to his brothers, "My money is restored, and lo, it is even in my sack." And their heart failed them, and they turned trembling one to another, saying, "What is this that God has done to us?" And they came to Jacob their father to the land of Canaan, and told him all that had befallen them, saying, "The man, the Lord of the land, spoke roughly with us, and took us for spies of the country. And we said to him, We are true men, and we are no spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father. One is not, and the youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan. And the man, the Lord of the land, said to us, By this I shall know that ye are true men. Leave one of your brothers with me, and take grain for the famine of your houses, and go your way, and bring your youngest brother to me. Then I shall know that ye are no spies, but that ye are true men. So I will deliver your brother to you, and ye shall trade in the land. And it came to pass, as they emptied their sacks, that behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack. And when they and their father saw their bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said to them, Ye have bereaved me of my sons. Joseph is not, and Simeon is not, and ye will take Benjamin away. All these things are against me. And Reuben spoke to his father, saying, Kill my 2 sons if I do not bring him to thee. Deliver him into my hand, and I will bring him to thee again. And he said, My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he only is left. If harm befalls him by the way in which ye go, then ye will bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to Sheol. Chapter 43. And the famine was severe in the land. And it came to pass, when they had eaten up the grain which they had brought out of Egypt, their father said to them, Go again, buy us a little food. And Judah spoke to him, saying, The man solemnly protested to us, saying, Ye shall not see my face unless your brother be with you. If thou wilt send our brother with us, we will go down and buy food for thee. But if thou wilt not send him, we will not go down. For the man said to us, Ye shall not see my face unless your brother be with you. And Israel said, Why did ye deal so ill with me, as to tell the man whether ye had yet a brother? And they said, The man asked diligently concerning ourselves, and concerning our kindred, saying, Is your father yet alive? Have ye another brother? And we told him according to the tenor of these words. Could we in any way know? And Judah said to Israel his father, Send the lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and thou, and also our little ones. I will be surety for him. Of my hand shalt thou require him. If I do not bring him to thee and set him before thee, then let me bear the blame forever. For unless we had lingered, surely we would have now returned a second time. And their father Israel said to them, If it be so now, do this. Take of the choice fruits of the land in your vessels, and carry a present down to the man, a little balm, and a little honey, spicery and myrrh, nuts, and almonds. And take double money in your hand, and the money that was returned in the mouth of your sacks carry again in your hand. Perhaps it was an oversight. Also take your brother, and arise, go again to the man, and God Almighty give you mercy before the man, that he may release to you your other brother and Benjamin. And if I be bereaved of my sons, I am bereaved. And the men took that present, and they took double money in their hand, and Benjamin, and rose up, and went down to Egypt, and stood before Joseph. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, "Bring the men into the house and kill and make ready, for the men shall dine with me at noon." And the man did as Joseph bade, and the man brought the men to Joseph's house. And the men were afraid, because they were brought to Joseph's house, and they said, "We are brought in because of the money that was returned in our sacks at the first time, that he may seek occasion against us and fall upon us." And they came near to the steward of Joseph's house, and they spoke to him at the door of the house, and said, "O my lord, we indeed came down at the first time to buy food. And it came to pass, when we came to the lodging place, that we opened our sacks, and behold, every man's money was in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight. And we have brought it again in our hand. And we have brought other money down in our hand to buy food. We know not who put our money in our sacks." And he said, "Peace be to you, fear not. Your God and the God of your father has given you treasure in your sacks. I had your money." And he brought Simeon out to them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house and gave them water, and they washed their feet. And he gave their donkeys provender, and they made ready the present against Joseph's coming at noon, for they heard that they should eat bread there. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed down themselves to him to the earth. And he asked them of their welfare, and said, "Is your father well, the old man of whom ye spoke? Is he yet alive?" And they said, "Thy servant our father is well, he is yet alive." And they bowed the head and made obeisance. And he lifted up his eyes and saw Benjamin his brother, his mother's son, and said, "Is this your youngest brother, of whom ye spoke to me?" And he said, "God be gracious to thee, my son." And Joseph made haste, for his heart yearned over his brother, and he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber, and wept there. And he washed his face, and came out. And he restrained himself, and said, "Set on bread." And they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Egyptians. And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men marveled one with another. And he took and sent portions to them from before him, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times so much as any of theirs. And they drank and were merry with him. Chapter 44. And he commanded the steward of his house, saying, "Fill the men's sacks with food as much as they can carry, and put every man's money in his sack's mouth. And put my cup, the silver cup, in the sack's mouth of the youngest, and his grain money." And he did according to the word that Joseph had spoken. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away, they and their donkeys. And when they were gone out of the city and were not yet far off, Joseph said to his steward, "Up, follow after the men, and when thou overtake them, say to them, Why have ye rewarded evil for good? Is not this that in which my Lord drinks, and how he indeed divines? Ye have done evil in so doing." And he overtook them, and he spoke to them these words. And they said to him, "Why does my Lord speak such words as these? Far be it from thy servants that they should do such a thing. Behold, the money which we found in our sacks' mouths, we brought again to thee out of the land of Canaan. How then would we steal out of thy Lord's house silver or gold? With whomever of thy servants it be found, let him die, and we also will be my Lord's bondmen." And he said, "Now also let it be according to your words. He with whom it is found shall be my bondman, and ye shall be blameless." Then they hurried, and took down every man his sack to the ground, and opened every man his sack. And he searched, and began at the eldest, and left off at the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they tore their clothes, and every man loaded his donkey, and returned to the city. And Judah and his brothers came to Joseph's house, and he was yet there, and they fell before him on the ground. And Joseph said to them, "What deed is this that ye have done? Know ye not that such a man as I can indeed divine?" And Judah said, "What shall we say to my Lord? What shall we speak? Or how shall we clear ourselves? God has found out the iniquity of thy servants. Behold, we are my Lord's bondmen, both we and he also in whose hand the cup is foul. And he said, Far be it from me that I should do so. The man in whose hand the cup is found, he shall be my bondman. But as for you, get you up in peace to your father. Then Judah came near to him and said, O my Lord, let thy servant, I pray thee, speak a word in my Lord's ears, and let not thine anger burn against thy servant, for thou art even as Pharaoh. My Lord asked his servants, saying, Have ye a father or a brother? And we said to my Lord, We have a father, an old man, and a child of his old age, a little one. And his brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother, and his father loves him. And thou said to thy servants, Bring him down to me, that I may set my eyes upon him. And we said to my Lord, The lad cannot leave his father, for if he should leave his father would die. And thou said to thy servants, Unless your youngest brother come down with you, ye shall see my face no more. And it came to pass, when we came up to thy servant my father, we told him the words of my Lord. And our father said, Go again, buy us a little food. And we said, We cannot go down. If our youngest brother be with us, then will we go down. For we may not see the man's face unless our youngest brother be with us. And thy servant my father said to us, Ye know that my wife bore me 2 sons. And the one went out from me, and I said, Surely he is torn in pieces, and I have not seen him since. And if ye take this one also from me, and harm befall him, ye will bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to Sheol. Now therefore, when I come to thy servant my father, and the lad is not with us, since his life is bound up in the lad's life, it will come to pass, when he sees that the lad is not with us, that he will die. And thy servants will bring down the gray hairs of thy servant our father with sorrow to Sheol. For thy servant became surety for the lad to my father, saying, If I do not bring him to thee, then I shall bear the blame to my father forever. Now therefore, let thy servant, I pray thee, abide a bondman to my Lord instead of the lad, and let the lad go up with his brothers. For how shall I go up to my father if the lad be not with me, lest I see the evil that shall come on my father? Chapter 45. Then Joseph could not restrain himself before all those who stood before him, and he cried out, Cause every man to go out from me. And no man stood with him while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians heard, and the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph, does my father yet live? And his brothers could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. And Joseph said to his brothers, Come near to me, I pray you. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. And now be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves, that ye sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are yet 5 years, in which there shall be neither plowing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on the earth, and to save you alive by a great deliverance. Chapter 46. And Israel took his journey with all that he had, and came to Beersheba, and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. And God spoke to Israel in the visions of the night, and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here I am. And he said, I am God, the God of thy father. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will there make of thee a great nation. I will go down with thee into Egypt, and I will also surely bring thee up again, and Joseph shall put his hand upon thine eyes. And Jacob rose up from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried Jacob their father, and their little ones, and their wives, in the wagons which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. And they took up their goods, and all their property, which they had gotten in the land of Canaan. They came into the land of Egypt, Jacob, and all his seed with him, the sons and the sons of his sons with him, his daughters and the daughters of his daughters. And he brought all his seed into Egypt. And these are the names of the sons of Israel who came into Egypt with their father Jacob, Jacob and his sons, the firstborn of Jacob, Reuben. And the sons of Reuben, Hanok and Phalu, Hezron and Carmi. And the sons of Simeon, Jemuel and Jamin and Ohad and Jachin. and Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. And the sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. And the sons of Judah, and Onan, and Shelah, and Perez, and Zara. But and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. And the sons of Issachar, Tola, and Puvah, and Asam, and Sambran. And the sons of Zebulun, Sered, and Alon, and Jaleel. These are the sons of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob in Paddan Aram, with his daughter Dinah. All the souls of his sons and his daughters were 33. And the sons of Gad, Ziphion, and Hagi, Shuni, and Esbon, Eri, and Arodi, and Areli. And the sons of Asher, Imnah, and Ishva, and Ishvi, and Beriah, and Sarah, their sister, and the sons of Beriah, Heber, and Malchiel. These are the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to Leah his daughter, and these she bore to Jacob, even 16 souls. And the sons of Rachel, the wife of Jacob, Joseph, and Benjamin. And to Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bore to him. And there were sons born to Manasseh, whom the Syrian concubine bore to him, even Mashir. And the sons of Benjamin, Bela, and Basher, and Ashbel. And the sons of Bela were Gera, and Naaman, and Anchis, and Rosh, and Mamphim. And Gera begot Ard. These are the sons of Rachel, who were born to Jacob. All the souls were 70. And the sons of Dan, Hushim. And the sons of Naphtali, Jahzeel, and Guni, and Jezer, and Shillem. These are the sons of Bilhah, whom Laban gave to Rachel his daughter, and these she bore to Jacob. All the souls were 7. All the souls who came with Jacob into Egypt, that came out of his loins. Besides the wives of the sons of Jacob, all the souls were 66. And the sons of Joseph, who were born to him in Egypt, were 70 souls. All the souls of the house of Jacob who came into Egypt were 75, And he sent Judah before him to Joseph to show the way before him to Goshen. And they came into the land of Goshen. And Joseph made his chariot ready, and went up to meet Israel his father to Goshen. And he presented himself to him, and fell on his neck, and wept on his neck a good while. And Israel said to Joseph, Now let me die, since I have seen thy face, that thou art yet alive. And Joseph said to his brothers, and to his father's house, I will go up and tell Pharaoh, and will say to him, My brothers and my father's house, who were in the land of Canaan, have come to me, and the men are shepherds, for they have been keepers of cattle, and they have brought their flocks, and their herds, and all that they have. And it shall come to pass, when Pharaoh shall call you, and shall say, What is your occupation? That ye shall say, Thy servants have been keepers of cattle from our youth even until now, both we and our fathers, that ye may dwell in the land of Goshen. For every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians. So now it was not you that sent me here, but God. And he has made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Hasten ye, and go up to my father, and say to him, Thus says thy son Joseph, God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, delay not. And thou shalt dwell in the land of Goshen, and thou shalt be near to me, thou and thy sons, and thy sons' sons, and thy flocks, and thy herds, and all that thou have. And there will I nourish thee, for there are yet 5 years of famine, lest thou come to poverty, thou and thy household, and all that thou have. And behold, your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin, that it is my mouth that speaks to you. And ye shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and of all that ye have seen. And ye shall hasten and bring down my father here. And he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck, and wept, and Benjamin wept upon his neck. And he kissed all his brothers, and wept upon them. And after that his brothers talked with him. And the report of it was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying, Joseph's brothers have come. And it pleased Pharaoh well, and his servants. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Say to thy brothers, This do ye, load your beasts, and go, get you to the land of Canaan, and take your father and your households, and come to me. And I will give you the good of the land of Egypt, and ye shall eat the fat of the land. Now thou art commanded, This do ye. Take wagons for you out of the land of Egypt, for your little ones and for your wives, and bring your father, and come. Also do not regard your stuff, for the good of all the land of Egypt is yours. And the sons of Israel did so. And Joseph gave them wagons according to the commandment of Pharaoh, and gave them provision for the way. He gave to all of them, each man, changes of raiment. But to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver, and 5 changes of raiment. And he sent to his father according to this manner: 10 donkeys laden with the good things of Egypt, and 10 she-donkeys laden with grain and bread and provision for his father by the way. So he sent his brothers away, and they departed. And he said to them, See that ye not fall out by the way. And they went up out of Egypt, and came into the land of Canaan to Jacob their father. And they told him, saying, Joseph is yet alive, and he is ruler over all the land of Egypt. And his heart fainted, for he did not believe them. And they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had said to them. And when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father revived. And Israel said, It is enough, Joseph my son is yet alive. I will go and see him before I die. Chapter 47. Then Joseph went in and told Pharaoh and said, My father and my brothers and their flocks and their herds and all that they have come out of the land of Canaan. And behold, they are in the land of Goshen. And he took 5 men from among his brothers and presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to his brothers, What is your occupation? And they said to Pharaoh, Thy servants are shepherds, both we and our fathers. And they said to Pharaoh, We have come to sojourn in the land, for there is no pasture for thy servants' flocks, for the famine is severe in the land of Canaan. Now therefore, we pray thee, let thy servants dwell in the land of Gos. And Pharaoh spoke to Joseph, saying, Thy father and thy brothers have come to thee. The land of Egypt is before thee. Make thy father and thy brothers to dwell in the best of the land. In the land of Goshen let them dwell. And if thou know any able men among them, then make them rulers over my cattle. And Joseph brought in Jacob his father, and set him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Jacob, How many are the days of the years of thy life? And Jacob said to Pharaoh, The days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have been the days of the years of my life, and they have not attained to the days of the years of the life of my father. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh, and went out from the presence of Pharaoh. And Joseph placed his father and his brothers, and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph nourished his father and his brothers and all his father's household with bread, according to their families. And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very severe, so that the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, for the grain which they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when the money was all spent in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, Give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For our money fails. And Joseph said, Give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle, if money fails. And they brought their cattle to Joseph. And Joseph gave them bread in exchange for the horses, and for the flocks, and for the herds, and for the donkeys. And he fed them with bread in exchange for all their cattle for that year. And when that year was ended, they came to him the second year, and said to him, We will not hide from my lord how that our money is all spent, and the herds of cattle are my lord's. There's nothing left in the sight of my lord. Why should we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants to Pharaoh. And give us seed, that we may live and not die, and that the land not be desolate. So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians, every man, sold his field, because the famine was severe upon them. And the land became Pharaoh's. And as for the people, he moved them to the cities from one end of the border of Egypt, even to the other end of it. Only he did not buy the land of the priests, for the priests had a portion from Pharaoh, and ate their portion which Pharaoh gave them. Therefore they did not sell their land, Then Joseph said to the people, Behold, I have bought you this day and your land for Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you, and ye shall sow the land. And it shall come to pass at the ingatherings, that ye shall give a fifth to Pharaoh, and 4 parts shall be your own, for seed of the field, and for your food, and for those of your households, and for food for your little ones. And they said, Thou have saved our lives. Let us find favor in the sight of my Lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servants. And Joseph made it a statute concerning the land of Egypt to this day, that Pharaoh should have the fifth. Only the land of the priests alone did not become Pharaoh's, and Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the land of Goshen. And they got possessions in it, and were fruitful, and multiplied exceedingly. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So the days of Jacob, the years of his life, were 147 years. And the time drew near that Israel must die. And he called his son Joseph, and said to him, If now I have found favor in thy sight, put thy hand, I pray thee, under my thigh, and deal kindly and truly with me. Bury me not, I prayed, but when I sleep with my fathers, thou shalt carry me out of Egypt, and bury me in their burying place. And he said, I will do as thou have said. And he said, Swear to me. And he swore to him. And Israel bowed himself upon the head of the bed. Chapter 48. And it came to pass after these things, that it was reported to Joseph, Behold, thy father is sick. And he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And it was reported to Jacob, saying, Behold, thy son Joseph comes to thee. And Israel strengthened himself and sat upon the bed. And Jacob said to Joseph, God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said to me, Behold, I will make thee fruitful, and multiply thee, and I will make of thee a company of peoples, and will give this land to thy seed after thee for an everlasting possession. And now thy 2 sons, who were born to thee in the land of Egypt before I came to thee into Egypt, are mine, Ephraim and Manasseh, even as Reuben and Simeon shall be mine. And thy issue, which thou beget after them, shall be thine. They shall be called after the name of their brothers in their inheritance. And as for me, when I came from Paddan, Rachel died by me in the land of Canaan on the way, when there was still some distance to come to Ephrath. And I buried her there on the way to Ephrath. The same is Bethlehem. And Israel beheld Joseph's sons, and said, Who are these? And Joseph said to his father, They are my sons, whom God has given me here. And he said, Bring them, I pray thee, to me, and I will bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim for age, so that he could not see. And he brought them near to him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, I had not thought to see thy face, and lo, God has let me see thy seed also. And Joseph brought them out from between his knees, and he bowed himself with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand toward Israel's right hand, and brought them near to him. And Israel stretched out his right hand, and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand upon Manasseh's head, guiding his hands deliberately, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph, and said, The God before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has fed me all my life long to this day, the heavenly agent who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, and let my name be named on them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, it displeased him. And he held up his father's hand, to remove it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. And Joseph said to his father, Not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put thy right hand upon his head. And his father refused, and said, I know, my son, I know. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. However, his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations. And he blessed them that day, saying, In thee will Israel bless, saying, God make thee as Ephraim and as Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. And Israel said to Joseph, Behold, I die, But God will be with you, and bring you again to the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to thee one portion above thy brothers, which I took out of the hand of the Amorite with my sword and with my bow. Chapter 49. And Jacob called to his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the latter days. Assemble yourselves, and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken to Israel your father. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the preeminence of dignity, and the preeminence of power. Boiling over as water, thou shalt not have the preeminence, because thou went up to thy father's bed, then thou defiled it. He went up to my couch. Simeon and Levi are brothers, weapons of violence are their swords. O my soul, come not thou into their council, to their assembly. My glory, be not thou united. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they hawked an ox. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Israel. Judah, thy brothers shall praise thee. Thy hand shall be on the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's sons shall bow down before thee. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou have gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as a lioness, who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and to him shall the obedience of the peoples be. Binding his foal to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine, he has washed his garments in wine, and his vesture in the blood of grapes. His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk. Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for a haven of ships, and his border shall be upon Sidon. Issachar is a strong donkey, couching down between the sheepfolds. And he saw a resting place that it was good, and the land that it was pleasant. And he bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant under taskwork. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent in the way, an adder in the path, that bites the horse's heels so that his rider falls backward. I have waited for thy salvation, O Lord. Gad, a troop shall press upon him, but he shall press upon their heel. Out of the Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. Naphtali is a hind let loose. He gives goodly words. Joseph is a fruitful bough by a fountain. His branches run over the wall. The archers have sorely grieved him, and shot at him, and persecute him. But his bow abode in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob. From there is the shepherd, the stone of Israel, even by the God of thy father, who shall help thee, and by the Almighty, who shall bless thee with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that couches beneath, blessings of the breasts and of the womb. The blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessings of my forefathers, to the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him who was separate from his broth. Benjamin is a wolf that ravens. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at evening he shall divide the spoil. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is it that their father spoke to them, and blessed them. Every man according to his blessing he blessed them. And he ordered them, and said to them, I am to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite for a possession of a burying place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah, the field and the cave that is in it, which was purchased from the sons of Heth. And when Jacob made an end of charging his sons, he gathered up his feet into the bed, and yielded up the spirit, and was gathered to his people. Chapter 50. And Joseph fell upon his father's face, and wept upon him, and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. And the physicians embalmed Israel. And 40 days were fulfilled for him, for so are fulfilled the days of embalming. and the Egyptians wept for him 70 days. And when the days of weeping for him were past, Joseph spoke to the house of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found favor in your eyes, speak, I pray you, in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die. In my grave which I have dug for me in the land of Canaan, there shalt thou bury me. Now therefore let me go up, I pray thee, and bury my father, and I will come again. And Pharaoh said, Go up, and bury thy father, according as he made thee swear. And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, and all the house of Joseph, and his brothers, and his father's house. Only their little ones, and their flocks, and their herds, they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen. And it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan. And there they lamented with a very great and sore lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians. Therefore the name of it was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond the Jordan. And his sons did to him according as he commanded them. For his sons carried him into the land of Canaan, and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham bought with the field, for a possession of a burying place of Ephron the Hittite, before Mamre. And Joseph returned into Egypt, he and his brothers, and all who went up with him to bury his father, after he had buried his father. And when Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, It may be that Joseph will hate us, and will fully requite us all the evil which we did to him. And they sent a message to Joseph, saying, Thy father commanded before he died, saying, So shall ye say to Joseph, Forgive, I pray thee now, the transgression of thy brothers and their sin, because they did to thee evil. And now, we pray thee, forgive the transgression of the servants of the God of thy father. And Joe and his brothers also went and fell down before his face, and they said, Behold, we are thy servants. And Joseph said to them, Fear not, for am I in the place of God? And as for you, ye meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. Now therefore fear ye not, I will nourish you, and your little ones. And he comforted them, and spoke kindly to them. And Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's house. And Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's sons of the 3rd generation. Also the sons of Machir the son of Manasseh were born upon Joseph's knees. And Joseph said to his brothers, I die, but God will surely visit you, and bring you up out of this land to the land which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the sons of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from here. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. If you like the content, don't forget to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos.